Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all your gettings, get understanding. Now, get ready as I take you on a journey into practical insights for living.
In the first episode of this series, we discussed something around the concept of business. How that business is not just doing business, trading, being an entrepreneur. Business is any and everything that yields profit, that yields a reward. Anything that requires an input from you that would yield a profit, that would yield a reward. That's what business is. So we established that in the first episode of this series. And today, we're going to be looking at the subject of reward. That subject of reward. Most of the time, a lot of controversies, arguments, disputes, wars, coalitions, alignments, partnerships, mergers and acquisitions, a whole lot of what happens on the earth, a whole lot of what happens in the marketplace actually circles around the concept of reward. Now, there have been wars because of undue gain. There have been wars where people felt that they were not given their due rewards. There are people in jail now because they machinated systems to claim a reward that is not theirs. Families are scattered on the basis of reward. Misconceptions around reward. Business partnerships are scattered. New alignments are formed just on the basis of reward. That shows you how much value people place on reward. So the concept of reward is heavy. It's a major subject. In fact, nothing serious really happens in business without a reward. Nobody would think of making a product except you are thinking of what am I going to be rewarded with after making the product? What are you going to give me in exchange? What are you giving me in exchange for developing a website for you? For designing a logo? What am I getting? What is my reward? And the quality of time and effort that I put into that work, into that project, is usually what guides my expectation, what I think the promised reward should be. That's what my anticipated reward and perception of value circles around. So the subject of reward it's major, it's fundamental, it's a pivotal concept in the marketplace and on earth generally. The concept of reward is at the center of a lot of our motivations. There's this concept used in the marketplace where, there are two ways to motivate people: either use the fear of punishment or a penalty, or the motivation of a reward. How that if you want to motivate maybe your workers or your employees, you can either use the fear of a penalty or the encouragement, the motivation of a reward, in which most times it's better to use the motivation of a reward. So that's just to show you how the subject of reward is major and vital. When we talk about reward, the kingdom of God is around rewards. The kingdom of the earth is around rewards. Think about any viable, any reasonable enterprise, any reasonable system that is on the earth today that is without a system of reward. Remove the system of reward from it and then it's nothing, right? So reward is a major thing. It's a major part of our human experience. It's a major part of how we do business. It's a major part of why we do what we do. It's a major part of the answer to the question of why. The question of why is most times answered by reward. The question of motivation, most times the answer is reward. So yes, reward is a major thing. It's a major part of our lives. So if reward is, that major, then it really calls for an attention. It calls for the due and necessary attention. So if everything, in life responds to reward, what does reward itself respond to? Have you thought about that? If virtually almost everything we are doing is centered and circled around reward, and responds to reward. What does reward itself respond to? If people, systems, organizations respond to reward, what does reward respond to? So I'll start out by saying that I want to break a myth, a particular misconception that is actually widespread. And what's this misconception? It is the thought that reward is a function of how much time or how much effort that you put into a thing. I know that conventionally, it's natural to think the more time you invest, the more reward. The more effort, the more reward. But I put it to you that that's incorrect. That's inaccurate. In fact, sustaining that perspective alone can cap your potential. It can limit your possibilities. It skews your perspective of everything you will do on earth and in the marketplace. So if you still think the system of reward is about, reward being directly proportional to time and effort, then you need a reschooling. You really need to unlearn that. You need to break that. We need to crash that down. Reward is not just about how much time or how much effort. I feel I need to say it again. Because most of the time we say that, we know better than that. But our actions show that that's still what we think. We still think more time means more reward. We still think more effort means more reward. So what does it respond to? What does reward respond to? What does it respond to then? It responds to how much value is placed on what you do. That's practically it. The value that is placed on what you do, that is what determines reward. It's a very hard pill to swallow. I know. For some people, it's a very, very hard pill to swallow. But that truth, that's what it takes to liberate a whole lot of people. That's what they need to agree with. How that perceived value is the thing that reward responds to. You see, this divergence between the concept of reward is why there's a lot of seeming injustice and a lot of scenarios where it seems like people are working and not being rewarded enough, commensurate with the effort being invested, commensurate with the time being invested. People are exchanging effort for money, exchanging time for money, and there's not so much to show. So that thought of more effort is more money needs to be deconstructed. That's where I'm starting from. I want to deconstruct that from your perspective, from your mind frame. Reward does not respond to time and effort alone. No, it responds to value, perceived value, to be specific. Now, I would not judge anyone for having the mindset or perspective that reward is directly proportional to time, or that reward is directly proportional to effort, because there's a system already designed globally, all over the world. A system that makes you see that, reward is tied to time. So we have what we call hourly wage, monthly wage, weekly wage, such that if you want to make more money, you have to just do more hours, do extra hours, and you get more money. Now, that's not wrong. I'm just saying that this is the foundation of that thought pattern. The thought pattern that increasing time is increasing reward. So like I said, I will not judge anyone that thinks that way, because the system is already wired to make you think that way, consciously or unconsciously. A large percentage of people, 80 to 90% of people, though they might say they don't think that way, 80 to 90% of people think that the way to increase reward is to increase time spent and effort invested, effort exerted. So it's a natural expectation. It's an expected thing to have based on the system within which we all function. But the truth is, reward is a function of how much value people place on what you do. That's it. Primarily, that's it. So let's imagine two photographers. The first photographer snaps a random person at a party, charges $10 for the service. And the second photographer says, snaps a photo shoot for a new album for Beyonce or Rihanna. Now, definitely the second photographer is going to get paid more, not because he did more, not because he spent more time or more effort. He's being paid more because there is a perceived value upon what he did. Now, if you get this right, if it sinks into you, you've gotten something. A lot hangs on it. That's the thing. That's the difference. The fact that the photographer that snapped the cover art for Beyonce's album is doing something of higher perceived value. If he gets something wrong, if he gets a particular part of that work wrong, a lot of things go wrong. If he gets it right, a lot of things go right. Heavy stuffs go right or go wrong based on his work. And that's what differentiates the reward. Now, this explains the pyramid situation of the world's wealth distribution. We hear things like pyramid schemes here and there. We hear things like, we have only a few seats at the top and then so much seat at the base of the pyramid. The higher you go, the less people you find. The lower you go, the more people you find at the base, struggling to make ends meet, and that. That's the reason why we have a pyramid system. Why it all looks like, this entire wealth distribution looks like a pyramid. Such that a lot of people at the base of the pyramid keep doing things, keep taking actions to get higher up the pyramid. And most of the time, people take actions and do things how they can get to the top, and in a lifetime it never happens. Most of the time, people never get to shift just a step higher. So there are people that started at the base of the pyramid and remained at the base of the pyramid till they ended their life. So more often than not, people never even get to do that. So we have a pyramid system. I call it the world's wealth pyramid. So we hear things like, this is a pyramid scheme, that's a pyramid scheme. This company is a pyramid scheme. This platform is a pyramid scheme. This organization is a pyramid scheme. It communicates a sense of lack of fairness, an unjust system. There's this underlying subconscious knowing that there's something wrong. These systems are not just, they're not okay. They're not just. There's something wrong about these systems. And unfortunately, a lot of people have just decided to live with it. They just decided to end it at, there's something wrong, and then that's all about it. So it's just a jungle where we have to fight and then kill whoever you can kill, or, fight whoever you can fight to just get up there or die trying. So the people at the base, they feel that by doing more, by spending more time, they can get out of this stage. But then the major difference between the people at the top of this pyramid and the people at the base of it is light. I'll explain that. But I need to re-emphasize that the main difference is not how much effort, it's not how much time, it is light. The difference is knowledge and information, understanding, access to knowledge, access to understanding of how things work. So the people at the top are at the top because of an unfair advantage. And what's this unfair advantage? It's access to information, understanding that is not available to the common man. So not just any knowledge now, not just talking about just any kind of knowledge, but a particular information that makes for the people at the top. So if anybody changes position at all in this pyramid, it's a function of light. If anybody drops, it's a function of light. If you go up the pyramid, it's a function of light. If you come down, it's a function of light. So it's access to a particular kind of information, a particular kind of understanding that is not common knowledge. That's practically what separates people. That's practically what creates the cadres, the levels on the pyramid. So let's talk about what happens at the base of the pyramid. So at the base of the pyramid, what people practically do is they trade time for money. So in a bid to make more money, you have to trade more time. And it's so bad that at the base of the pyramid, there is more temptation, more desperation to trade more time for money, because you are in a place where there is not so much extra cash on you, not so much extra money to live on. So you have to trade more time and more time and more time. So you are not left with so much time and still not left with so much money. And so the only way to get more is put in more time, clock in more time, clock in more effort, exert more effort. And the cycle just continues on and on. Now, I'll share a very good case study to examine this pyramid. This pyramid that I'm trying to show you, this pyramid of the world's reward system. Let's consider a construction site. Now, on a construction site, there are different workers at different levels. Now, the most populated level, the most populated cadre are the physical laborers. Then next to the supervisors, then next to the engineers. And the difference between each of these cadres is light, actually. What sets them apart is light. So let's say we have a total of 50 workers on a construction site. You would see that about 40 of them are physical laborers. Then we have maybe 8 supervisors and 2 site engineers. Now look at that. That's a pyramid. 2 on top, 8 in the middle, 40 at the base. That's exactly how a pyramid looks. And if you look carefully, what separates them into those cadres is light. What do I mean? The understanding that the engineer has with respect to this project is more than what the supervisors have. Not more in volume, but superior in quality. Superior in quality. Knowledge that is superior in importance. And then the supervisors also have, more superior knowledge than what the physical laborers have. In any way, everybody has some form of knowledge for them to do anything at all. So, but what separates them actually is the light they're operating with. The engineer does not just have a degree. He has professional certifications here and there, and that's why he's at the top of that pyramid. And as you move towards the base, you see that there is less requirement of light, but there is more requirement of time and physical energy. The physical laborers invest the most energy, the most time, though the light requirement is not so much. You don't need to know so much to be a physical laborer. Look at it. We have like a ratio of 5-1, 40 laborers to 8 supervisors. That's a very, 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 very large disparity. So for a physical laborer now to, let's say, transition from the bottom of the pyramid to, let's say, a step higher, what it needs is a particular kind of light, superior knowledge. So when I say superior knowledge, I'm not just talking about quantity, I'm talking about quality of importance of the knowledge with respect to the project that is being worked on. A particular level of fullness of knowledge, fullness of understanding of how things work. It needs a particular amount of light. So transitioning the pyramid of the world's wealth is by light. Let's just settle that. It is by light. The earlier you come to terms with that, the better it is for you, and the earlier you would find out how to make the necessary transitions you need to make. So a laborer may need to, go back to school, get an SSC or get a bachelor's in engineering or technology, some certifications here and there, and then, that will take him a couple of years to do and some money to do. And then he can move up the cadre. And now he gets paid more by doing less. He gets paid more by investing less effort and less time. It seems like an unfair system, but that's what It actually is. That is it. It's just what it is. So the concept of, fairness, frankly speaking, is not something you should naturally expect out of life. Life is not a fair playing field. It's not. It's not. So now, how does somebody at the base of the pyramid get both the money and time that he needs to transition? Because at the base of the pyramid, you lack time, you lack money. And those are the things you actually need. You need those two things to transition. Now, because he's trading so much of his time, he has limited time. So what can he do? Let me give you a practical solution to that. What he basically needs to do is to buy knowledge. So you need money to buy knowledge. You need time to assimilate that knowledge and really get to understand and practice, experientially assimilate and ingest this knowledge, this superior knowledge that you bought. So it will take time, it will take money, which of course we've said that you don't have a luxury of it at the base of the pyramid, meaning it's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be a sacrifice. It really looks like the system is cast in stone, because when you're at the bottom, you have limited supply of both money and time. And you need both money and time to transition up. So it looks like you can't shift anything. You can hardly do anything to change Keda. So, but what the person has to do, the only way is the way of sacrifice. Meaning you have to trade more time for more money. Now with a different perspective, with a different hope. You're not trading more time for more money to spend all the money. You are trading more time for more money so you can invest it in buying knowledge. I know that there's always the urge, the urge to spend all that you get, because it's practically not even enough. So there's the urge to spend all that you get. But this person needs to understand that the extra time that I'm exchanging for extra money is to create extra resources that I can invest into buying knowledge. So he needs to pay for access to events, access to information, access to people. He needs to pay for access. He needs to pay for access. See, there are things that you can find just randomly anywhere, searching the internet. But there's a degree of transition you want to make that the required knowledge is not something you find lying anywhere. There are street smart knowledge that you will not find on the road, even though it's street smart knowledge. You won't find it on the streets. So what makes for your transition is actually a superior level of light. That's the fastest way to transition. That's the fastest way to transition. A superior level of knowledge. So what you want to do is you want to search for people with the resources, people that have the same resources or close to the same resources as you have, and they're getting better results. And find out what are they doing. I used to say that if you see someone getting a result that is different from yours, it's just two things. The person knows something that you don't, or the person is doing something that you are not doing. Two basic things. The person knows what you don't know, or the person is doing what you are not doing. It's no more than that. So yes, at whatever cadre that you are currently in, the way up is to go for light. The way up is to go for superior, vital knowledge, superior knowledge. A knowledge with very high importance, high level of perceived value, not just any kind of knowledge. So I would restate again, if you would transition faster than the average person, you have to be willing to buy your way into that transition. You have to buy your way into that transition. You must be intentional about transformation by knowledge. You must be sacrificial about it. So you're not just going for just any and everything. There are particular specifics that you need to know. There are things that actually matter. There are things that would give you more breadth, more room on the base of the pyramid, but there are things that will transition you to the top of the pyramid. So there are things that there are knowledge that you get that will just, create more comfortable space for you, but you are still at the base of the pyramid. But there are knowledge, superior knowledge, that will transition you up the cadre of the pyramid. And that's what you should go for. That's what I would advise that you go for. Now, this is what I want to share with you in this episode. I hope to tie this up in the subsequent episodes. I want to hear your thoughts. I always want to hear them. So share them with me while I prepare to show up here very soon. But until then, I wish you good success. Take charge.